one of the things that we start to confuse in our quest is that we are looking for something that we would like to keep steady, happiness. And so now we've progressed a little bit more in our spiritual journey. We figure out maybe that happiness is inside, and we're a little bit less looking at objects. We're looking a little bit more at our minds. But still, we make a mistake most of the time, that we are trying to match this state of happiness and make it steady in a life that is made of cycles. So there is no way that we can get that steadiness in our life, because our life is always going to have ups and downs. But these ups and these downs are also within cycles. So today's up and tomorrow's down, and today and the other days up and down, at some point will close a cycle. And after that, other ups and other downs will start in a new cycle. And so now we're even more confused, because we've figured out that we're looking for happiness. And even though we've kind of maybe not read a lot about enlightenment, we figured, well, at the end of this journey, at the end of this enlightenment journey, there must be like continuous happiness somehow. So how am I going to do this? So the next step is that we start to separate what is a little bit kind of a earthly happiness from what is something different, which is in its purest form bliss. But this bliss is not related to the external circumstances, so it can never come from an up. So the first thing to realize as we get closer to the state of enlightenment is that if we are feeling goodness from an up, it isn't what we're looking for. And we need to know the down is coming. Not because I want to be kind of announcing doom and gloom, but because life as we know it is in cycles. There is something that isn't subject to these cycles, I would say almost as much as the other things. There's still a little bit. And this is awareness. Now, awareness is this property that we have, which I talked about in the other sessions. It's the property that we have that enables us to experience life. So the eyes experience sight with the use of the brain, but the being experiences what the brain is producing through sight because it has awareness. So our awareness is the way we experience existence here on earth and on any other plane. And this awareness, which in its nature isn't subject to any ups and downs, because it is linked to reality, the only aspect of up and down that it has is the awakening of it. So basically, this awareness can be asleep or awake. But this asleep or awake are almost like the external parts of this awareness. Imagine an eye. The eye has got the palpebra. How do you say that in English?
Eyelid.
Yeah, the eyelid. So the eyelid can be open or closed, but the eye is always there. So awareness can be awake or asleep, but it's always there. The observer is always there. And so the awakening of it may have cycles and does have cycles of more awake and less awake, but they're towards the complete awakening as far as our earthly life is concerned. So we grow and we start to awaken this awareness. What does this mean? That we just know more. So before something happened and I had an opinion about that person having done something to me and causing my suffering, and now because my awareness is bigger and more open, I actually see what my mind is producing inside of me. And so one of the biggest steps of awareness is to take responsibility, because we have it. Because we start to see that the whole world is our creation. That we've never seen any image that wasn't created by our mind. We've never heard any sound that wasn't created by our mind. We've never seen any memory that wasn't created by our mind. And we've never had a thought that wasn't created by our mind. Even if somehow our brain in our earthly life made a recording of something that somebody told us, our parents or whatever, and has played it in our mind ever since, maybe putting my voice on it and confusing it. But as we start to wake this awareness up, we start to know what goes on inside. So awareness is, I would say, almost the only, there's a little bit more, a little bit deeper, but the only aspect of ourselves that is always stably present. It can only be slightly closed or slightly open. So in our spiritual process, the main step is to wake up the awareness. And that is one of the aims, or the main aim, or one of the 2 or 3 main aims, and we'll see why, of all practices, of all meditations, of yoga. It is waking up the observer, the awareness, and as a consequence you have all other things like the present moment focus, but that is the most important thing. And as we open this internal eye more and more, more and more, so comes an acceptance of what we see, and the acceptance of these cycles of up and down and up and down. So our spiritual process and the process of enlightenment is a process of opening this awareness more and more. So from one point of view, you could consider enlightenment like a process rather than a moment or a thing. The process is this opening of the awareness progressively more and more. How much can it be opened? Infinite. There's no limit to how this awareness can be opened, because you can become more and more aware of everything. I can be, for example, aware of what I'm feeling and what other people are feeling, as well as what the whole planet is feeling, as well as the whole universe and beyond, and how much I hold this awareness. So the process of awareness doesn't stop. So there's no end point to it. So there can't be a line through at which I say that I'm done. But there's another aspect as well, which is consciousness of being. So this awareness that I've been talking about right now, I've been depicting it, observing my mind, my emotions if I'm more aware, my energy, other people's energy, the planet, all these things. But still, all of this stuff is looking out. There is something even deeper than that, which is very, very impossible to say, but that we would call spirit or being. So who is the owner of this I? Almost the same word, I and I, but who is the owner of this single I that is opening and closing and that is observing? And this owner, which is you and me and everything, is your most important and core and definitely immutable part of yourself. That doesn't even have an opening and closing. It is being. So there's another process in this enlightenment and in this awakening. It's the process of the awareness as it slowly opens, and before it only looked at what happened and outside, and now it's getting more aware of actually there's stuff going on in the mind and in the emotions, and actually I'm creating what I see, and then at some point, but who am I? Who is the owner of this mind that is creating everything? Because one of the core principles of what is called self-inquiry is that anything that you can observe is not you. Because there is the self or spirit or this ungraspable mystery that we are. There's the act of observing, and there's something being observed. And so if something is being observed, whatever it is in you. Now, our being has got various parts. You know, I am speaking as if we are the spirit. We have an observer, and the rest is out. In reality, this out is almost like our body. So it's still part of us, but it's a different part of us. Because the body, like the body, we take and we leave. A car, we take and we leave. Even a whole universe, we take and we leave. So it is part of us, but it isn't fundamental to who we are. It may be fundamental for a cycle of 1 trillion years, but then it's going to fade away. Even that. Buddhism tells us everything is impermanent, except being. So all of these things that slowly we become more aware of, our physical nature, our emotions, our mind, all of these things are our body. The mind is the body of spirit. It's the creation of spirit, and it is perceivable through awareness.